Hey everybody, it's me, Steve Schty, the CD Junkie, and me and my pandemic hair. I cannot wait until lockdown is over and I can go get my hair cut. But if I have to deal with it, you're going to have to deal with it too. On this episode of CD Junkie, I'm going to be talking about British singer-songwriter Nik Kershaw. Some of you American people are probably saying, Schnee, he's a one-hit wonder. Why are you talking about Nik Kershaw? Well, no, there's more to Nik Kershaw than Wouldn't It Be Good. Some of you British people might be saying, Schnee, he's a teen idol. Why are you dealing with Nik Kershaw? Same answer. There's more to Nik Kershaw than you realize. I always like to start these episodes out by telling you how I got into the artist. Now, I was in a record store flipping through the bins, and I was always, if I had my paycheck from Jack in the Box, then I was probably record shopping. So I'm flipping through the bins, and this is before I heard the song Wouldn't It Be Good, but I saw this record by this guy named Nik Kershaw, and it was like it was on MCA, and it had like a special low price introduction type thing, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to give this thing a shot. So I took it home, and it was, to me, this brilliant mix of synth pop and level 42-like sophisticated song structures. And, of course, the song Wouldn't It Be Good was just amazing. It blew my mind. And, of course, then I found out that that was his big hit in England. And I found out about, that he was charting in England, and he had some hit singles. And so I was hooked from the beginning. So let's start my journey into his CD catalog. We're going to go all the way back to 1980. He was in a band called Fusion. A lot of people don't realize this. They released an album in 1980 called Till I Hear From You. Now, Nik wasn't the main guy. Reg Webb was the main guy. He's the guy who sang most of the songs, wrote most of the songs. But Nik Kershaw was a guitar player, and he did have a couple songs on the album. One of the songs here, if you look at it's before the bonus tracks, it's the last song called Look Behind You. That's the song that eventually became Human Racing off of Nik Kershaw's first official solo album. But this here is nice sort of jazz fusion pop. It's more pop. I mean, expect it to be kind of level 42-ish. And if you only know level 42 for the song Something About You, dig into their catalog as well. But we're not going to talk about them right now. We're talking about Nik Kershaw. So this album eventually came out on CD, I believe it was 2013 on the Angel Air label, and they added 2 bonus tracks. But this is the first recorded appearance, to my knowledge, on album or on record and on CD by Nik Kershaw. And the band is called Fusion, and the album is called Till I Hear From You, originally released in 1980. Now, his first solo album was called Human Racing, and this is that album. Came out in 1984. This is the expanded edition, so it has the original album plus a bunch of bonus tracks as well. This is the album with Wouldn't It Be Good, but it's also got Cloak and Dagger, Bogart, Dancing Girls, I Won't Let the Sun Go Down on Me, and of course the song Human Racing. Now, for those of you who think that he's just a typical teen pop idol, that was furthest thing from the truth. I think that him and, like, let's say Howard Jones got really the raw end of the deal. They were sort of packaged as teen idols, but these guys, Nik Kershaw stuff is really sophisticated, just really creative arrangements. Yes, it's synth pop, but it's also jazz pop, a little bit of fusion. Songwriting is quirky, it's catchy as sin, and if you notice here, there's, more non-album tracks and remixes and stuff. So this is a great collection. Human Racing, his debut album, came out in 1984. Let me stress again, this is the album with Wouldn't It Be Good, but every album I'm going to talk about has a bunch of great songs. His second album came out in 1984 as well. It's called The Riddle, and this is another great collection of sophisticated, great pop songwriting. He's a great vocalist, arranger, guitar player, and he has this really clear idea of creating music. And if you really sit down and listen to it, there's a whole lot of depth to what he does. This, of course, has the song The Riddle. Wide Boy was a big hit. Just a lot of great stuff there. And, of course, then there's the bonus tracks. Roses is one of my favorite tracks. I saw Nik Kershaw live at the Hollywood Palace on this tour, and he opened the show with Roses, and it was just fantastic. In fact, the keyboard player on that tour, I believe, was Wix, who plays with Paul McCartney now. The Riddle, another fine album, great collection of sophisticated pop from Nik Kershaw. Moving further away from pop and getting a little bit more sophisticated, adding a lot more depth into his songwriting, Radio Musicola came out in 1986. This actually has, as a bonus track, a song called When a Heart Beats, which was a single that was in between the Riddle and this album. And that's just a great, great pop song. But there's just, again, just a lot of great material on this. This is not an expanded edition. I wish they would do an expanded edition. But that is full of great material. That is Radio Musicola. Still a whole lot of depth, great musicianship, great songs. Sometimes on a Nik Kershaw song, it's going to immediately hit you and grab onto you. Sometimes it's the second or third listen. Radio Musicola is full of those types of songs. And in my opinion, an album filled with songs that maybe take a couple listens to really sort of understand and grasp. Those are the albums that stay with you longer than just a bunch of audio bubblegum. 35 years later, I'm still listening to Radio Musicola. And then 3 years later comes The Works. His commercial profile had dropped since this time, but he was still creating great records. Again, he was marketed to the teens, and by the time this came out, which was 5 years after his debut album, they were all grown up. They were probably listening to Sade or Animal Nightlife or Johnny Hates Jazz, the more sophisticated stuff. But if you listen to this, again, sophisticated. The album's called The Works, and you're thinking, oh, that sounds like it's a greatest hits album. No, it's not a greatest hits album. It could be, because all the songs are great. And it's not the Queen album called The Works. It is Nik Kershaw, and a great collection of songs there is. It's like One Step Ahead and Elizabeth's Eyes, and just another great collection of songs. Perhaps this album might have been too slick, maybe too much production went into it, but the songs still shine through, and it's still Nik Kershaw, and it still has that depth that you really want to hear in an artist's repertoire. So Nik Kershaw, The Works, that came out in 1989. Now, I believe he lost his deal with MCA Records at this point, and he sort of shrunk away, started writing songs for people. He wrote a song called The One and Only for Chesney Hawkes, I think, in 1991, and that was a pretty big hit. But he did not return with a brand new album until 1998, which was almost 10 years later, and that's called 15 Minutes, sort of a play on that sort of 15 minutes of fame. Songwriting is still great. On 15 Minutes, he stripped away a lot of the electronics and just sort of left it, pretty much acoustic and electric guitar. There are keyboards in there, there's drums, bass, but it's not a pop machine made for the masses. It's an album that he really sort of wanted to write and record, and this album is actually really fantastic. It actually did well. I remember reading a lot of good reviews for this album. Somebody Loves You was the key track, but it's filled with a lot of great material. Again, he's a great songwriter, and sometimes it's pop and immediate, sometimes it takes 2 or 3 listens or whatever. So 15 Minutes was another fine album. Then came the album To Be Frank, and this came out in 2001, and this is along the lines of 15 Minutes. It's acoustic and really focused. They did add an acoustic version of Wouldn't It Be Good there on the American one. If you love his vocals and his songwriting style, you're going to love To Be Frank, and you should definitely check that out. Now, a lot of people are going, he's just an 80s artist trying to, relive his fame. No, he's just a great songwriter still trying to get his music out. And that's what a lot of musicians do. It doesn't matter if you had a hit in 1980 or if you had no hits at all. Musicians just feel the need to create art and release music. Nik Kershaw is one of those people. Then came You've Got to Laugh in 2006. This is another great collection of songs, and he's adding more electronics into the mix again, but not on everything. But it's still, I can sit here and I can jibber jabber and tell you the depth and blah, 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 great songwriter, but I just keep saying it. But I hope you remember that that's what it's all about. Anyway, here is an album called No Frills, came out in 2010, and this is an acoustic album, as you could probably guess, where he does some of his older hits as well as some of his newer songs, and they all sound wonderful. Then out comes the album 8. This album came out in 2012, and this is fantastic. This is a perfect blend of old Nik Kershaw, new Nik Kershaw, and it's absolutely fabulous. It's got a lot of great material on it. Do I have to keep telling you what a great songwriter, great vocalist, and guitar player he is? 8 is his 8th studio album, as you would probably guess. No Frills doesn't count as a studio album, even though it was recorded in the studio. This is his 8th album of original material. and it's fantastic. Now, this is his latest studio album. As of the filming of this video, he's already got a brand new album ready to go called Oxymoron, and he's just waiting until things die down with the pandemic. But he has released a sampler from the album digitally. It's the These Little Things EP, so you can go listen to it on Spotify, which I normally hate to recommend. I prefer you maybe go buy the digital files on iTunes or Amazon or wherever it's available. Here are a couple compilations I wanted to show you before I close out. This is called Then and Now, and this is a nice compilation because it compiles the hits of his 80s years alongside some of the more recent stuff. Like there's a song there with Elton John, and there's another song that he did the vocals. I can't even pronounce the name of the band. It's French, like Le Rhythm Digitale, or I don't know. You can look at the tracks there. But this is a great collection, and it is called Then and Now. But my favorite Nik Kershaw compilation is one called Best of Nik Kershaw on the Music Club label, but it has tracks you're not going to find on any of the other compilations. This does focus on his early years, but it does have some B-sides, and it's just really has some extended mixes, and this one's really worth your while. So anyway, that's it for this video on Nik Kershaw. I really recommend you to look beyond Wouldn't It Be Good, and if you're not familiar with the song Wouldn't It Be Good, go check that out and see if you like that, and then explore things. You know, listen to Wide Boy, listen to Roses, listen to Bogart, Cloak and Dagger, all these great songs that are fantastic, and then of course his later period. But I appreciate you sitting there and allowing me to talk about Nik Kershaw. Remember, please, to like, comment, share, subscribe, and even ring that bell to be notified of future videos. And to like I have to really focus on the whole like thing, because that allows more people to see my videos. But then again, if I'm stuck in video obscurity, I'm not going to complain because I appreciate you. So until the next time, remember me, I'm Steve Schnee, the CD Junkie.